All right, we are live. What a beautiful day, and let's get into this. We are looking into New American Industrial Alliance Foundation, NAIA. I've been hearing about this foundation for a while, and let's see. The goal over here is bring back manufacturing in America, and a lot of support around it, a lot of infrastructure around it. Well-documented organization that aligns closely with the query. Okay, New American Industrial Alliance, NAIA. Multi-Sector Traders Association launched in December 24, focused on revitalizing America's techno-industrial sector. It unites startups, established businesses, investors, and policymakers to advocate for policies and investments that strengthen U.S. manufacturing innovation and national security. NAIA aims to counter global competitors like China by rebuilding industrial capacity, streamlining regulations, and fostering collaboration across industries such as technology, defense, aviation, energy, and venture capital. Describes itself as the voice, visionary, and vanguard of America's techno-industrial revival, aiming to ensure U.S. leadership in global techno-industrial innovation. Boost funding and resources for techno-industrial growth, remove regulatory barriers to innovation and rebuilding, incentivize private sector investment in critical industries, critical minerals, energy manufacturing, strengthen U.S. businesses and workers through sound tariff policies, favorable trade agreements, and workforce reliance. Okay, a lot of work over here is going to be happening in defense industry, especially rebuilding industrial capacity, streamlining regulations, and fostering collaboration across industries such as technology, defense, aviation, energy, and venture capital. Modernize manufacturing by leveraging technology and capital markets rather than recreating outdated industrial models. I think this is a really big one. This is a really big one because when you want, if you want to bring back manufacturing to America, now you have better tools. Now you know how to make automated factories. We were doing about we did live we did a deep dive on Hadrian. They're building an automated factory, semi-automated factory. We know about how we have looked at drone shots of Tesla and how Tesla factories look like. They are all robots over there. We recently looked into On, where On is making their next running shoe. What is this called? Cloud Booster? Cloud Booster? Something? Wow, I totally forgot. But a beautiful new shoe that is totally 3D printed by this robo arm. So if you are bringing manufacturing back to America, you don't have to make sure you are following the same industrial model where everything is on assembly lines, still very human driven, and you are just relying still on a bunch of humans. Now we have better technology. We can make sure that things are safe, things are faster, things are more efficient, and we are not wasting material. You can make sure that the industries are much more cleaner, and they are also maybe well distributed. You don't have to have one big massive one big massive factory, and then you are shipping your product everywhere from that one place. You could probably have something which Adidas had this thing which was called shadow factories, maybe. But basically across, if you think of Canada, what are the three major cities in Canada? Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto. Yeah, maybe you can have something in the middle: Winnipeg, Edmonton, Alberta. So you pick like just four main spots. You make you now have these mini factories or shadow factories or ghost factories right outside the main city, and so that you can reach the hotspots, you can reach the epicenters really fast. All right. What else? Address national security concerns, particularly regarding supply chain vulnerabilities exploited by the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. All right. Austin Bishop, Cleveland, emphasizes rebuilding America's industrial heartland based on personal experience with its decline. Okay. Our communities in the heartland have been left behind by the managerial class. I would know. I'm from Cleveland. I witnessed the disinheritance of the American heartland with my open eyes. I want to help rebuild my own city and others like it, and NAIA is how we get that done. Bogged down by the graft and timidity of the consultant class. Wow. convenes builders with capital allocators and founders with policymakers, bring the firepower of an industry-wide trade association without being bogged down by the graft and timidity of the consultant class. Mission is critical. CCP has seized control of America's supply chains and hollowed out our industrial base with the cooperation of short-sighted politicians, especially in our once great industrial capitals, have suffered as a result. If we don't do something now, America will lose to China. Chris Power, and founder of national security startup Hadrian. Okay, so we have to also look into, so NAI seems like a foundation, and Hadrian is the startup, is the company that he's building on. NAI seems to be more policy driven. They have us beat on almost every industrial metric on the book. Supply chains, weapons manufacturing, even on producing advanced technologies. We are falling behind. If we don't act now, it may be too late for us to right the ship before catastrophe hits. Was founded because it's time for America to start building again. Startups and legacy businesses drawn from tech, defense, aviation, energy, and venture capital. Tech, defense, aviation, energy, and venture capital. Prioritize investment in America, implement trade policies that prioritize American workers and firms and protects them from unfair foreign competition, eliminate bureaucracy, and push deregulation that reduces barriers to entry for builders. Navigate the government procurement process, affect regulatory and permitting reform, find tax advantages, and benefit domestic builders. All right, this was a good, quick one. All right. So we have Austin Bishop, who's the co-founder and CEO. And then we have Chris Power, who is founder of Hadrian. Urgency of countering China's industrial dominance in areas like supply chain and advanced technologies. Advised by former Trump administration officials, aligning its priorities with policies expected under a potential Trump administration. Wait, this seems like an outdated point. Okay. Pushes for deregulation, increased government support for startup manufacturing, trade policies, prioritizing American workers. It released the Techno-Industrial Policy Playbook in May 25. Okay, so, all right, this is cool. Also, so Techno-Industrial Policy Playbook came out, and it would be interesting to know, like, there were many institutions that were named over there. I believe there was FAI, there was NAIA, there was a couple more. So that would be interesting how this came about. All right, right over here, Foundation of American Innovation, FAI, American Compass, and Institute for Progress, outlining strategies to secure America's industrial future. Reindustrialized Summit, annually in American Heartland, convenes industry leaders, policymakers, and investors. Detroit hosted a new lab, attracted 700 attendees from manufacturing, finance, military, and government sectors. It fostered collaboration and launched new ventures. Entrepreneurs, capital allocators, and policymakers to drive investment and innovation. Members include companies like Divergent 3D, which uses AI, 3D printing, and automation to reduce manufacturing costs. Spans startups and legacy businesses in tech, defense, aviation, energy, and venture capital. Supporters include Silicon Valley leaders like General Catalyst, Palantir, and 8VC. Definitely. These are the big guys. Big guys. I actually don't know what General Catalyst, but yeah, we got Peter Thiel, we got Joe Lonsdale, we got Palmer Luckey, Anduril. Emphasizes urgency, warning that America risks losing industrial leadership to China without immediate action. Chris Power noted China's advantages in supply chains, weapons manufacturing, and advanced technologies. If we don't act now, it may be too late. Decline of industrial heartland communities, saying our communities in the heartland have been left behind by the managerial class. I would know. I'm from Cleveland. I just want to quickly know, where is Cleveland? If we open in Google Maps, Cleveland is here. Okay, cool. All right. Official launch announced on December 11 via PR Newswire, marking the start of its public advocacy efforts. Launched on May 6 as a blueprint for policy recommendations to strengthen U.S. industry, media coverage for its grassroots efforts to propel innovation and manufacturing, and in budget news for its policy advocacy clarification. New America Industrial Alliance, misnomer. New America Alliance. All right, all right. NAI's focus on uniting diverse stakeholders and its emphasis on technology driven manufacturing align with the current economic and geopolitical priorities, such as reducing reliance on foreign supply chains. Its bipartisan approach and heartland focus could resonate broadly. Ambitious goals face hurdles, including entrenched regulatory systems, global competition, potential resistance from established interests. Its reliance on deregulation may spark debates over environmental or lab protections. The organization emerges amid growing U.S. concern over industrial decline, particularly in competition with China. Its alignment with Trump era policies, tariffs, deregulation may shape its influence but could limit bipartisan support. Interesting. Oh, and now, oh, I actually liked when we had the references on the top. Grok. Let's move it back to the top. All right. New America Industrial Alliance. This is the logo. Austin Patrick Bishop, General Partner, Tamarack Global, CEO, New Industrials, and Re-Ind Summit, Giddy Up. Also, we'll look at Austin's profile. Perfect. We got this lined up. We read this one. We'll go back. All right, this is a thread. Let's see. This was launched in December 24. Perfect. Today, we are proud to officially launch NAI, the New American Industrial Alliance. NAI is building an alliance of founders, investors, and policymakers. America is a nation of builders, a nation of pioneers, but for decades, America's builders have been stifled by bad policy in DC. Our resources have been trapped underground, our jobs have been sent overseas, the American people have suffered, our adversaries have gotten rich. The collapse of American industry was a choice, but just as deindustrialization was a choice, we can choose to reindustrialize. In June, hundreds of builders, investors, and government officials met at the inaugural Reindustrialized Summit in Detroit. They chose to bet on America. The Reindustrialized Summit became a rallying call, uniting individuals and institutions with a shared vision of American greatness. We founded NAI to turn this vision into reality, to unleash America's builders and restore America's position as a global industrial leader. Serve as the voice, visionary, and vanguard of this industrial revival. We will advocate tirelessly on behalf of our members to cut regulation, incentivize investment in key sectors, protect American workers, streamline government contracting and procurement, and more. Members include Palantir, 8VC. All right, do we follow these accounts? Palantir, follow. 8VC, Sweeve, Joby Aviation, JLL. We shape the future real estate for a better world. We got Atomic Inc., Atomic Industries, reinventing mass production by teaching machines, tool, and die making. Okay. Oklo, provide clean, reliable, affordable energy through the deployment of next generation fast fission technology and recycling nuclear waste. Interesting. General Catalyst, yes. Let's venture beyond. We got Dirac, the assembly company. BuildOS auto creates work instructions from CAD files, saving engineers time and transforming how techs deliver quality products on time. Hadrian Space, Galvanic, secure industrial operations. Go to Impulse Space, low-cost space payload delivery, access any orbit, reach other worlds, and Y Combinator. Perfect. Go to the website, newindustrials.org. It's time to build in America. It's time to reindustrialize. Perfect. Beautiful. All right. We back. The builders. Look at this photo. Look at this. This is beautiful. What is this? What are we looking at? Oh, this is a printing machine that is printing the US flag. Wow. This is beautiful. What a nice website. What a nice photo. And it is forming the coalition of innovative builders, founders, institutional capital, and senior government officials dedicated to reindustrializing America. Build more, regulate less. Boost funding and resources to fuel techno-industrial growth. Remove barriers to building and innovation. Deregulation. For too long, American innovation has been held back by burdensome regulation, which does more harm than good. NAIA supports smart streamlining of regulatory processes to remove obstacles to reindustrialization. Investment supports policies incentivizing more private sector investment in strategic sectors and providing more robust support for critical industries and supply chains such as critical minerals, energy, and manufacturing. Look at this photo. Beautiful. This reminds me one of the Indian companies had a beautiful ad. Let's see if we can find that. Let's see if we can find that. Wow. Indian steel ad. Okay, perfect. Found it. Yes, look at this. Wow. Jindal Steel. Let's go. This was crazy. This was crazy. All right, we have to comment again. Both hard. Both hard. Both hard. All right, let's go back. Supports policies and incentivizing more private sector investment in strategic sectors and providing more robust support for critical industries and supply chains such as critical minerals, energy, and manufacturing, trade and workforce. NAIA supports measures that strengthen American businesses and workers against strategic rivals, sound tariff policy, favorable trade agreements, and a resilient workforce, government contracting and procurement. Supports reforms to modernize government contracting and procurement in order ensure healthy market competition and broaden the industrial base. Our members, government contracting procurement. Palantir, Joby, Gecko, Oklo, Dirac, Hadrian, Formic, Rebuild. We did a quick dive on that. About mission, reindustrialize. This is the full member. Techno-Industrial Revival. We got SVB, let's go. A16Z, Machina Labs, USIT, Long Wall. What is Long Wall? Regen, Silent Ventures, Eclipse, Divergent, Extropic, Blue Star, California Forever. Long Wall. All right. And reindustrialize, scale, scope, impact. The preeminent annual summit convening the brightest and most motivated minds at the intersection of technology, manufacturing, and policy. Executives from large companies and startups, institutional investors, and senior government and military officials convened to forge the alliance focused on revitalizing America's techno industrial base. Let's go back to Grok. Oh, wow, what is this? General Catalyst, Palantir, and AWC are backing the new American Industrial Alliance, a lobby trade group being advised by former Trump administration officials. Look at this photo. What is this photo? That's crazy. Trump wants manufacturing jobs back. Silicon Valley is lining up to help. This is very good. This is a very strong alignment between between Silicon Valley and and the government officials. Look at this. Look at this. Beautiful. Beautiful. The strong American aesthetic is beautiful. It's beautiful. New American Industrial Alliance Reindustrialized Summit. It's all hands on deck in US shipbuilding. Today, we are proud to announce a partnership with Fairlead, one of the most capable maritime manufacturers in the country, to modernize American maritime production. Direct and Fairlead announced strategic partnership to accelerate American shipbuilding through model-based manufacturing. Model-based manufacturing. This is about rebuilding American industrial power with software at the core. Shares the conviction that production must move at the speed of design and that tribal knowledge, digital context, and manufacturing execution belong on the same plane. Together, we are building not just ships, but the infrastructure for sovereign capacity. High quality, high mix fabrication systems integration, work across naval and commercial domains is making a generational leap by standardizing on Direct's model based production platform. Direct is how the Navy will avoid schedule risk and scale capacity, no doubt. Modern naval platforms are, it's beautiful. It's kind of funny. Like, there were a couple naval there were a couple like posts about some advancements in naval and stuff like that. People are like, wait, I thought this was about Naval, Naval the philosopher, the angelist guy, and yeah, this was a clickbait. Modern naval platforms are too complex for tribal knowledge alone. With Direct, we are capturing expertise in maritime production, scaling it across our workforce, and laying the digital foundation to lead in high volume modular shipbuilding. We've always delivered precision. Now we are pairing with the velocity and adaptability. That's what Direct enables. We're turning process into a platform. All right, this is Direct's website. Let's see. Work instructions, automated. Build OS, automate the monotony. Drop in a CAD file and let Build OS generate work instructions, including 3D renderings, interactive animations, and text descriptions. A true 80/20 tool. Retain tacit knowledge. Keep production going, get to market faster. MechMaster, Freedom's Forge, standard handbook for mechanical engineers. Is it about MechMaster, the university? American defense innovators, European automotive conglomerates, aerospace system manufacturer, the NT software company. If you're an engineer who wants to enable a future of abundance and grandeur, join us. We are building in Manhattan, New York. Beautiful, beautiful. The software company. It's time to ship. It's time to ship. Member Direct is leading the way by showing how software defined manufacturing can unlock unprecedented growth for American builders. The Techno-Industrial Playbook is out. NAIA, IFP, American Compass. IFP is Institute for Progress, Foundation of American Innovation. Kelvin, building infra for the industrial economy. IQT, AI and Industrial Policy, how sciences join FAI.
War is the best example of this, right? You had the space race where the U.S. public and our intelligence agencies were shocked when Russia launched Sputnik. It's really hard to just fully articulate how deep this shocked the American psyche and how fast we got our shit together. In a matter of less than a decade, we directed 400,000 people, 20,000 companies, and 4.4% of the overall federal budget towards the Apollo missions. We went from being laggards in engine technology, missile technology, space technology, to rank into the moon first.
Is that part of the challenge, though, now, is that we don't have sort of a stunning visual of industrial decline? It's sort of this sort of slower, insidious sort of process that's been happening that we feel in different ways, but it doesn't strike fear into the hearts of Americans in the way that Sputnik did.
That's 100% a challenge. There's some people who don't believe America will get serious until there's a Taiwan scenario. But there have been instances there's been flashpoints over the past few years: Ukraine, COVID, October 7th, where people have realized actually the lack of a robust defense supply chain, the lack of the ability to make basic things like medical masks are problems that affect us today. And so that's where the work you guys are doing is so important. That's where the work of these think tanks and other folks like Catherine Boyle, the whole American Dynamism movement. The more we talk about these things, the more I think people will recognize the seriousness at which we need to take these issues.
All right, this was cool. Hi, Mom. We're live. That was cool. We just messaged Kelvin the congrats on launching the Playbook. NAI CEO, Austin Bishop, members 2112 Power, and Kevin testified in front of the House Oversight Committee on igniting the industrial renaissance of the United States. The message was clear. America's industrial base is a cornerstone of our national strength and a vital engine of economic security for millions of Americans. We have neglected it at our own peril. Once in a generation opportunity to reindustrialize and secure our nation's sovereignty and long-term economic prosperity through coordination between policymakers, capital allocators, and builders to unleash American innovation.
And over the decades, we're at a pivotal moment in American history that demands urgency, imagination, and national unity. The question before us is not whether America can lead in the world in cutting-edge production again, but whether we choose to. So reindustrialization is not about nostalgia or recreating a past economy, but about building a dynamic, future-facing industrial base that strengthens national security, revives economic mobility for working Americans, and reclaims American leadership in critical sectors. This is a nonpartisan challenge and a once-in-a-generation opportunity. As the ranking member said, the workforce is at the front of this. And I'm a guy from Cleveland, Ohio as well. And over the decades that I grew up there, and certainly decades leading up to that, I wish that there was this much interest in ensuring that our industrial base stayed onshore. And what we saw over those few decades is something that we have a chance to reverse going into the future.
We're all worse off in a world where the West cannot manufacture certain goods in abundance. The reality forces us to rely on the good graces of distant powers to meet our critical needs. This vulnerability was not accidental. Deindustrialization was a choice resulting from bad policy decisions and flawed ideologies that prioritize short-term cost savings over long-term national strength and discourage investment in capital-intensive industries. Deindustrialization decimated the middle class and decimated the American manufacturing workforce. We are forgetting how to manufacture as a country. We have to create an even playing field with China. Our energy costs and raw material costs, not to mention labor subsidies, are 10x greater than China. We have to find strategic ways to give American manufacturers a level playing field with the egregious CCP subsidies that get put on core inputs to manufacturing like energy and raw material costs. The point of building these advanced factories like Hadrian is to give the American workforce superpowers and help us leapfrog the Chinese system. This is about more than advanced technology. It's about responsibility and resilience. It's about rebuilding an industrial base that is accountable to the nation it serves. In the last decade, we have done a moonshot and have a fully digital factory that is ready to scale. Divergent 3D is proof of what is possible when innovation is unleashed. Now think about what we could achieve if we align policy, capital, and the will to accelerate this innovative transformation. This is our chance to reindustrialize with purpose. Let's not only play defense, let's play offense. Let's lead again and do it in a way that builds a more vibrant, secure, and equitable America. Really cool. Really cool. All right. Incredible things are happening in the techno-industrial policy. Stay tuned for more. Enjoy. enjoyed this conversation. We got a conversation. All right. The golden age of American innovation is on our horizon if we choose it. Today we shared the Trump administration technology policy agenda. Endless frontiers retreat. Wow. The golden age of American innovation. The renewal of our nation. Such a renewal will require the reinvigoration of American science and industry. Over the last few decades, America has become complacent, forgetting old dreams of building a wondrous future. But we know the American pioneer. Wait, what else do we have? We got Truth Social. Okay. We got Truth Social, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and all right. This is the America 250. America 250. What is America 250? What is America 250? Oh, the United States of America countdown to America's 250th anniversary. 421 days, 2 hours, 42 minutes. Let's go. This is the story of America. On July 4th, America will celebrate the most important milestone in our country's history, 250 years of American independence. With a single sheet of parchment and 56 signature, America began the greatest political journey in human history. The story of America makes everyone free. Under the President's leadership, the salute to America 250 Task Force has commenced the planning of a full year of festivities to officially launch on Memorial Day 2025 and continue through July 4th, 26. The White House is engaging in encouraging the entire federal government, state and local governments, the private sector, nonprofit, and education institutions, and every citizen across this country to join in the historic celebration. Have a renewed love of American history, experience the beauty of our country, and ignite a spirit of adventure and innovation that will raise our nation to new heights over the next 250 years. Proud to present an original video series, The Story of America. Wow. Yeah, this is something this is very interesting. I kind of got goosebumps, but this is very interesting. Like when an entire country comes together to celebrate America, like July 4th. This is something that I heard on the podcast with Chris Williamson and George Mack, where they were like, hey, it's amazing what happens on July 4th, where there are firecrackers and everybody's celebrating, everybody's proud of being American. They are all shouting USA, USA, USA. But you don't see that happening in UK. We still have that in Canada as well. In Canada, I think it's July 3rd or July 5th. I forgot. But Canada also has Canada Day. It's 1 day plus minus US a day. But they were specifically talking about UK. How UK doesn't have that. And even though they have a UK day, they don't even remember. They don't even celebrate like that. Like nobody is coming together and celebrating that, hey, UK. A lot of people are missing that. There's a lot of, and I think they were also talking about this. It's more like a marketing issue, something that Rory Sutherland talks about, that we should just make Dunkirk Day as UK Day instead of whatever they currently have. So very interesting conversation over there, like how you bring together entire country. What is that one day where everybody feels like they are part of this massive community, massive country, and they celebrate coming together, being together. All right, let's go over here. President Trump has given all of us a monumental task. There's nothing predestined about technological progress and scientific discovery. They require the efforts and energies of men and women, the collective choice for order and truth over disorder and opinion. This American hope, or I think we missed this one. Yes, but we know that American pioneer spirit will still seeks the exploration of endless frontiers. Our technologies and what we do with them will be the tools with which we will make the destiny of our country manifest in this century. Yet this American hope in the possibility of progress and the power of science and technology does not allow builders and innovators to retreat from politics. Indeed, quite the opposite, which is what brings me here today. A golden age is only possible if we choose it. They require the efforts and energies of men and women, the collective choice for order and truth over disorder and opinion. The last century was called the American century, as despite wars and domestic conflict, the United States stood at the forefront of science and technology, building the future. With the strength of our industry, and ingenuity. We created the largest middle class the world has ever seen. As President Trump said to me in his letter laying out the science and technology agenda of this administration, the triumphs of the last century did not happen by chance. Ours was the atomic age, ours the victory in the space race, and ours the invention of the internet, collecting and connecting the multiplicity of human knowledge. Today we fight to restore that inheritance. As the failure of the Biden administration's small yard high fence approach makes clear, it is not enough to seek to protect America's technological lead. We also have a duty to promote American technological leadership. Our moment and the speed of transformation America experienced mid-century. Progress has slowed. Yes, large language models astonish us. Rockets still turn our eyes upward, and satellites envelop the globe. But as we look forward to America's 250th birthday celebration next year, progress today pales in comparison to the huge leaps of the 20th century. Consider the country of 50 years ago. As the nation approached its bicentennial, Americans looked forward to electricity too cheap to meter. By the end of 1972, 30 nuclear plants were operational, 55 were under construction, and more than 80 were planned or ordered. That same year, the Apollo 17 astronauts became the 11th and 12th men to walk on the moon. 5 years before, the X-15 rocket plane had set a speed record for a crewed aircraft from Mach 6.7. America was flying higher, faster, and farther than ever before. However, energy prices still burden producers and consumers alike, and the grid remains precarious. Over the past 30 years, only 3 commercial nuclear reactors have been built and 10 have been closed. Despite spending almost twice as much on healthcare as peer nations, we have the lowest life expectancy. Apollo 17 steps on the lunar surface have proved mankind's last. The X-15's record still stands, and the Concorde was decommissioned more than 2 decades ago. Our passenger planes are slower than they used to be. Our trains crawl compared to those in other parts of the world. Our cars do not fly. Wow. Wow. Who is writing this? I think this should be turned into a video. We have so many beautiful aesthetic videographers. We need to make this amazing write up into a video. This is your script. Like, go take the script and make a crazy ass video with all the American flags American flags and American aesthetic in the background. Advances have not stopped, but something has gone wrong. Stagnation was a choice. We have weighed down our builders and innovators. The well-intentioned regulatory regime of the 70s became an ever-tightening ratchet, first hampering America's ability to become a net energy exporter and then making it harder and harder to build. We seem to have lost focus and vision, to have lowered our sights and let systems and structures and bureaucracies muddle us along. But we are capable of so much more. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity. As J.D. Vance, Vice President Vance, said in a recent speech, the tradition of American innovation has been one of increasing the capacities of American workers, of extending human ability so that more people can do more and more meaningful work. But unrestricted immigration and reliance on cheap labor, both domestically and offshore, has been a substitute for improving productivity with technology. We can build in new ways that let us do more with less, or we can borrow from the future. We've chosen to borrow from the future again and again. Our choice as a civilization is technology or debt, and we have chosen debt. Today, we choose a better way. Our first assignment is to secure America's preeminence in critical and emerging technologies. This administration will ensure that our nation remains the leader in the industries of the future with a strategy of both promotion and protection, protecting our greatest assets and promoting our greatest innovators. To the degree it even tried to accomplish this, the Biden administration failed on its own terms, led by a spirit of fear rather than promise. The old regime sought to protect its managerial power from the disruptions of technology while promoting social division and redistribution in the name of equity. They secured American technology poorly and failed to strengthen our leadership at all. Wow. Who is writing this? Who is writing this? The golden age of American innovation is on our horizon if we choose it. In a changing technological environment, the task ahead of us is to adapt to new realities without destroying the American way of life or disinheriting the American worker. We seek, in the most basic terms, to secure our economy, restore our middle class, and uphold America as the planet's best home for innovators. The temptation for the kinds of people represented in this room, builders and discoverers, has been to withdraw from politics in the face of burdensome regulation and inefficient government in the circus of election cycles, many of whom have chosen retreat of various kinds. But there is no substitute for victory. You and your fellow Americans cannot afford to give up on the nation. In a world so shaped by politics as well as technology, we must take action in both of these domains. We need all Americans to continue to rise to the occasion, to make full use of their talents, and to build. All of us must labor to preserve the inheritance of the American century, to share with posterity, and to ensure the technologies that give shape to our world help the American people secure the blessings of liberty we received from our forebears. I bear the responsibility in my role as the President's Science and Technology Advisor. You bear it too, in exercising whatever powers and responsibilities you have, whether in business, education, or the laboratory, as Americans. It is the choices of individuals that will make the new American golden age possible. The choice of individuals to master the sclerosis of the state, and the choice of individuals to craft new technologies and give themselves to scientific discoveries that will bend time and space, make more with less, and drive us further into the endless frontier. Who wrote this? The director. Who is the director? Oh, director Kratsios at the Endless Frontiers Retreat. Director. Wow. Hey, beautiful. Beautiful. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. Our technologies permit us to manipulate time and space. They leave distance annihilated, cause things to grow, and improve productivity. All right. American banker. To remain globally competitive, the US needs more creative financing of large infrastructure projects. US finance a new wave of industrialization in the US. This is a crazy photo. Is this real? This is actually happening. A blend of equity, private debt, and public investment drove the country's growth in the Industrial Revolution. US needs more creative financing of large infrastructure projects. Creative financing of large infrastructure projects. Congrats to Impulse on the big milestone. High efficiency space transportation will be the reality sooner than many realize. These beautiful photos of American factories has become so popular on Twitter now. So it's really cool. Like basically New American Industrial Alliance, they are leveraging on this. They are like, okay. And I love the logo. Very, very aesthetic. Very aesthetic. Modernizing defense acquisition. The defense acquisition system is one of the most critical levers for American industrial revitalization. This EU aims to streamline procurement, empower the defense industrial base, and prioritize speed, flexibility, and innovation, key ingredient for reindustrialization. Prioritize commercial solutions, streamline decision making, review internal processes to remove inefficiencies. Our private markets thrive because of healthy competition between new entrants and incumbents alike. It's time we allow that same creative dynamism to occur in the DoD. This will ensure our forces stay lethal and maintain a decisive advantage with state-of-the-art capabilities, and the American taxpayers' money is well spent. Sovereign Wealth Fund. Directing the repeal of unlawful regulations, restoring maritime dominance. Build more, regulate less. We're trying to level the playing field for the American worker and the American business builder. This country has an unbelievable wellspring of talent from coast to
Number of
coast.
topics that I think are really what big tent that I kind of just consider to be common sense. I mean, we are at the end of the day, we're trying to just level the playing field for the American worker and the American business builder. And we have the greatest entrepreneurs in the world. They're not just in Silicon Valley, despite what a lot of people realize. They certainly are there, but they're all throughout the country. And same with employees, engineers, builders. This country has an unbelievable wellspring of talent across from coast to coast. But one of the biggest problems we have is like they just don't have a level playing field, whether it's on the massive regulatory burden that a lot of these companies face, or other countries forcibly deindustrializing us. I mean, China for many decades has had centralized industrial policy where they would go and find very specific industries and run at a loss. For example, is battery manufacturing, so forcing our companies to go out of business because they can't compete, whether it's because they have very, very cheap labor, or also because the country's literally subsidizing the cost of these industries. And once other countries lose those industries, then they would stop subsidizing them because they have a monopoly, and the margins would expand, and they'd have a giant industry.
Trump administration do? What sort of things are you advocating for?
Yeah, my bumper sticker is kind of build more, regulate less, and we care about
Build more, regulate less. And this is the reindustrialize. Okay. Once again, beautiful cover photo. All right, track announcement. Detroit, Michigan, right? MI? I think MI is Michigan. Energy dominance, manufacturing technology, the American worker, defense and national security, investment capital, the global chessboard. The global chessboard. Arena. Brian Schimpf, an engineer in war. Built and led an engineering enterprise to compete against Goliath and protect the US. Anduril, choose your adventure, fixing the Pentagon's feedback loop. Whoa. Look at this photo. Look at this photo. Issue 004, War. This is our best one yet. And Arena magazine. A print magazine about technology, capitalism, and civilization. Alright. 200 proof, pure distilled American propaganda with essays and stories you can't get anywhere else, including the first magazine profile of Anduril CEO Brian Schimpf. Whoa. Beautiful aesthetics. Where are we getting these aesthetics from? Let's go. What does it say? The current tensions between China and the US may not be driven by the same ideological conflict as the Cold War, but ideology remains important. Debates over military doctrine and forms of warfare are never purely technical. They often carry significant political weight. The fact that Mao's doctrines align so well with the strategies of automated warfare, despite his not having imagined such technology, is proof of how ideology shapes the way we wage war, something Mao himself would have agreed with. Wow. Let's cast this. Oh. Yes, these two. Let's go. American defense aesthetics. Or defense tech aesthetics. Alright, let's go back. We are here, Maxwell, Mayer. There's a lot of talk about the playbook. Alright, more to come. The data is on our side. President Trump's plan will reindustrialize the United States, revitalize the private sector, and raise wages for Americans. This factory's nuts. Rwanda Tooling, founded in 1975 with annual sales of 25 to 49.9 million. 200 to 499 employees, custom manufacture precision tools and die. Specialize in compound, fine blanking, progressive and transfer dies. Offers assembly, welding fixture, prototypes, and high volume production. Provides heat treating, plating, and powder coating services. Industrion. The lowest barrier to entry to the factory floor. Whoa. What is Industrion? Would we buy this precision Machining manufacturer. Okay, okay. Industrion, join Industrion. Pretty cool, pretty cool. We're going to make it in America. The Regenaissance podcast. Okay, my little brother is new to X. He's building a very cool company, fixing our food supply at its roots. Let's get him to 100 follower mark today. Eric from Deep Roots, warm farmer, founder of Deep Roots Living Soil. The Regenaissance. Regenaissance, we did it. Looking good. Diving deep on frontier science and squeezing more of the marginal dollar spent on R&D. Okay. Can anyone tell me how to open a factory? Whoa, whoa. Kentucky Derby, good omen. Sovereignty winner of the 151st Kentucky Derby presented by Woodford Reserve. Wow. Kentucky Derby, that is massive. The 152nd running of the Kentucky Derby is May 2nd, 26. All right, Shyam. Reindustrialization, it is happening at warp speed, dropping now on X. Watch the first episode of the Warp Speed Engine Room.
Reindustrialization in the U.S. I'm your moderator, Emily Wynn. I lead industrials and warp speed at Palantir Technology.
Head of Industrials and Warp Speed. Wait, Warp Speed?
And I'm honored today to be
Warp Speed was the Project Warp Speed during
joined
COVID.
by Sean Sanger, the CTO of Palantir Technologies, Keith Flynn, SVP of Production at Anduril Industries, Heidi Wood, the Chief Transformation Officer at L3 Harris, and John Pyatt, EVP at Sierra Nevada Company. Well, today we're going to be talking about reindustrialization. Sean, I know that this is a topic that you've spoken and written a lot about. Why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. Reindustrialization is a national security priority. It really starts from this foundational premise that innovation is a consequence of productivity. If you don't make things, you can't innovate on how you're going to make those things. And we should remember that at the dawn of World War II, we were the best at mass production. We had invented mass production in America. We could compete asymmetrically to build the arsenal of democracy. Unfortunately, today, our primary adversary, China, is the world's best at mass production. And in this David versus Goliath battle, our asymmetric advantage is going to be our strength, AI, automation, software, that allows us to reindustrialize asymmetrically.
That's great. Now, I think that the topic of reindustrialization is something that's pretty easy to get on board with in terms of critical industries, but in practice, there's some real challenges to get there, and I know that you are all intimately familiar with these. So I wanted to dig into that, and maybe Heidi, you could start us off. One thing that I've heard you talk about a lot is the need to seek truth in the organization. When you're managing an organization at the scale of L3, getting to ground truth can be quite difficult, which may lead to challenges in terms of.
Wow. Imagine. These are all heads of these are all executives of their startups. So sitting over here for 1 hour, this cost them more, this podcast, bringing them all together in this one room, having 1 hour of their time synchronously. This costed pretty much $5 million at this point,
How you would change manufacturing processes
considering how much they all get paid.
in order to reindustrialize and increase production. So I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, certainly. One of the things that we're working on is we're undergoing a complete digital revolution. And that's really what we talk about when we talk about transformation. Because we're realizing that through the
L3 Harris.
digital journey, we can create an amalgamation of information so that we get to a single source of truth and that we can enable people to make data-driven decisions. And when you see that
I don't know what speed are we at, but it seems like they all talk super fast. Wait, we are 1x?
data and everyone is able to coordinate on it, they're able to innovate faster. So to your point of creating an environment of innovation involves digitization. And so
Oh,
we're
no.
going to be creating
1.8.
gamification, we're going to be creating dashboards, etc., so that people can harmonize on data, do more strategic thinking, as opposed to running around trying to create PowerPoint slides, taking the data from one place, making this PowerPoint slide, taking the data from another place, making a PowerPoint slide. That just creates confusion and I think lack of conviction because you can't really see the data and things are changing all the time. And so that getting to that real world dynamic, I think is going to really enable us to revolutionize our operation.
For sure. And your data is certainly one component of it, but Sean, we talk a lot about the privacy of people and empowering, sometimes the heretics. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I profoundly believe that everything we're doing in reindustrialization in particular, it comes down to people. You need a bold.
I love how Heidi is looking at the moderator and Sean is looking at the camera.
Agency leaders that are actually going to reimagine how you build things, change process. As you look at how SpaceX had done all the contrarian things, they vertically integrated their supply chain. They are deleting features of the product. They aren't using space certified componentry, just thinking from first principles. And that really comes from people. And at its most foundational level, sometimes we view factories as this anodyne robotic process. But I think nothing could be further from that truth. That factory is the expression of a human art form. It's craft, and it's built by craftsmen. And we need to honor that as we think about how we're going to go about doing this. That is, I think, what happened when we were building the arsenal of democracy. You had a Danish immigrant, Bill Knudsen, who invented mass production. You would go around and meet the engineers. You would meet William Lear and Henry Kaiser and have his own sense for the craft and the craftsmen and how and who are going to go build and stock up the shelves there.
Sure. And I don't want to say that Anduril was founded by heretics, but certainly industry outsiders. And Keith, you're one of those coming from an automotive background. Can you talk a little bit about how Anduril has sort of embraced a different culture, how your people drive that?
Yeah, so much of this comes actually out of the need, right? Like if you look at Anduril, we're trying to attack a different problem. Like nowadays, if you look at conflicts, you can see where defense is going. There's just this need for equality, right? And that means that like we need smaller, we need cheaper, we need more, and that different need drives a different problem, right? And so as you're trying to solve this different problem, what you have to do is bring in different perspectives. So my background is automotive. It's not aerospace defense. but spend a lot of time, my entire career, working with how do you build a lot of things, how do you build this at high rate, what's required to be able to go do that. And so as we tackle these new problems and as they change and they transform, even when you go back to the arsenal of democracy, like these people are going after these problems, what is it going to go take? And you need to bring these different perspectives to go solve that, right? And so I think from inside the industry that has done and solved the same problem, again, it can feel like a heretical approach, but really it's like, hey, these solutions are across. Like it's like jumping from industry to industry. It's amazing how many solutions exist somewhere else that could solve a problem here that people aren't aware. And what you have to do is bring in these outsiders, or bring in these different perspectives to actually be able to do that. And so at Andro, as we go attack this different problem, we're trying to bring all these different perspectives in to say, okay, here's what we got to go do. It's critical that we achieve this. How do we attack this problem? How do we attack this? What are the different ideas we can bring together? And that allows for the different solutions that we have.
Yeah, for sure. And tied in part and parcel of empowering individuals and focusing on the people is the kind of topic of corporate culture. And John, I know you talked a lot about the corporate culture at SNC. You talked about how in this time when we need to reindustrialize, SNC is really made for this moment.
More problems. Guess what? You've demonstrated that capability. We're going to go here. And so it fosters a really, really great environment that just appreciates because everyone is aligned with recognizing this innovation because it is driven with empathy.
Necessity is the mother of invention, for sure.
Yep.
One of the things we say internally, that's the theme that you were kind of highlighting, is that we talk about the many, small, smart, and connected, right? And that's where things are going,
Absolutely.
warfare. Yeah.
Sure. Also wanted to talk about, it's one thing to kind of establish culture, but how do you retain folks? How do you retain the A players at an organization? You need the innovators to not only kind of produce, but also stick around. How do you think about that at SNC?
Well, I mean, first off, we need to, like I said earlier, we need to recognize that employees and personnel are our most important resource. We're going to add all these other things. These other tools are going to change. The ecosystem is going to change. The industrial base is going to change. But if we still boil down to that common denominator of employees, we have to value our people. We have to ensure that they understand that we are helping them grow in their education. When I mean education, it's a learning environment that allows them to bring more productivity and increase their level of satisfaction much along the lines of gamification. More employee engagement, make sure that they understand what our vision is, what our goals are. So it's a complete tops down and bottoms up alignment of the organization towards what it is that we want to accomplish. Let's take out a lot of the uncertainty in the organization and do that through just simply communicating. And again,
It's really cool to see, like when you look at podcasters, they would all have the Shure mic. Look at me, look at me, look at my mic. When you look at these highly productive executive podcasts that is happening over here, they all have like super tiny lav mics and the audio quality is amazing.
and removing barriers and strengths. Oh my gosh, the biggest frustration people have, and you hear this all the time, people leave, not they leave the company, they leave their boss. Yeah. And generally it's because of two things. Either the boss doesn't pay attention to them, or the boss doesn't allow them to accomplish more because of the constraints that are put on them. And removing those constraints and making them more efficient in their own minds, making them more productive and more value added, increases their satisfaction with what they come to do each and every day. Enjoy your job, come in, be happy. We don't have to create complete environments to do that. We just have to empower the workforce. One other thing is, and I found this to be very true over the years, is if you can give people the job and they know what their role and responsibility is, and you give them the authority to do their job, taking away those constraints, then they're happy to be held accountable for the performance and the work that they do. And so that's the handshake between the supervisor and the employee. Let's make sure that the people in our hierarchy of our organization know what they're supposed to be doing each and every day. Not that we have to micromanage them. It's as simple as saying, this is your job. You have the authority to go do it. And an empowered workforce is a powerful workforce. Increase productivity. Yeah, absolutely. You can dominate in any part of the industry if you have an empowered workforce.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Sean, any closing thoughts on what we've heard today and the topic of reindustrialization?
Well, it's a couple of motivation for me to hear you guys talking about what you're working on here, and I know how important it is to be accelerating what we're delivering to the warfighter. So being some small part of that transformation is hugely motivating. We're excited about the work that we're doing together and the change that's to come here, but it really is a whole of nation effort here. It certainly starts in defense, but it's going to touch it.
This is the most well-spoken CTO I've ever heard from.
Everything from pharmaceuticals to critical minerals to broader ways of thinking about things as we kind of hit economies of scale and how we do reindustrialization. So I look forward to bringing superpowers to American workers with all of you here.
Thanks so much.
Well, I think this is our moonshot moment for this generation. And you think about it, in 1961, John F. Kennedy stood up in front of Congress and he committed to investing in the future of space. He said we have to be on the moon by the end of this decade. If we stop short, we fail. We can't afford to fail. And that was the moonshot moment for that generation, which is my generation, born in 1963. I was a Kennedy baby. It was an important milestone, important achievement in our industry and in our society. And the way I equate everything we're talking about now, this is our generation's moonshot moment to reindustrialize, not just the defense industrial base, but all of industry. As we talk about energy, we talk about raw materials, we talk about the factories, we talk about our people. Every aspect of industrialization are all those things. It's not just defense, it's not just commercial. But we have to be thinking about how we're going to innovate, how we're going to touch everything, and that's our big moonshot.
The American industrial base.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. Really great to hear your thoughts, and that was a very vibrant discussion. Thank you for tuning in.
All right, we'll go over here, and we've been now talking for 59 minutes. All right, perfect. We are pretty much on time. Give me the most important policies, most important specific policies listed in the Techno-Industrial Policy Playbook. All right. Streamlining defense procurement processes. Okay, we talked about this. So they want to bring back where incumbents and basically the primes or the product is measured just on the performance, not on the relationship between the new players have equal ability to compete with the incumbents. They are all measured, they are all ranked, they are all, what's the right word, they're all measured on the product's performance only. That's it. So that is streamlining defense procurement process. We got reforming federal hiring policies for top tech talent. Okay. Overhaul federal hiring to attract and retain world-class scientists, engineers, and technologists. Proposals include creating flexible hiring authorities, offering competitive salaries, and streamlining security clearance processes to bring top talent to agencies like DARPA, NIST, and the Department of Energy. The US lags in recruiting global talent compared to China, which aggressively courts scientists. This policy would bolster agencies critical to innovation, AI, quantum computing, and clean energy, ensuring the US remains a leader in frontier technology, impact area frontier innovation. Human capital is the backbone of technological leadership. This policy tackles a systemic weakness in government R&D. Okay. Streamlining defense procurement processes, reduce bureaucratic delays, lower costs, and accelerate the adoption of cutting-edge technologies from startups and non-traditional contractors. Simplifying contracting mechanisms and prioritizing speed and acquiring advanced systems like AI, drones, and cybersecurity tools. Slow and favor legacy contractors, stifling innovation. This policy could unlock billions in contracts for innovative firms. All right. Transforming science funding with block grants. Shift federal science funding from narrow project-specific grants to block grants awarded to new mission-driven research organizations. These grants would fund high-risk, high-reward research in areas like biotechnology, advanced manufacturing, and AI, model on DARPA's success. Incremental research trafficking breakthroughs. Block grants would empower innovative institutions to pursue ambitious goals, accelerating discoveries in critical fields. This policy is highlighted by its potential to reshape US R&D. New era of US scientific dominance addressing the playbooks call for bold investment in labs, leveraging export controls for AI chip tracking. Tracking technology for AI chips to prevent smuggling to adversaries like China. Incentivizing manufacturers to embed traceability features and enforcing compliance to ensure chips don't end up in hostile hands. Wow, very interesting. Critical for military and economic competitiveness, preventing their diversion to rivals is a national security priority, especially given China's effort to acquire advanced semiconductors. This is very interesting. This is a conversation that came about when people heard that obviously DeepSeek has a bunch of NVIDIA processors, but how did they got NVIDIA processors when NVIDIA, I think there's a ban on shipping NVIDIA chips to China. So that was very interesting. Like how come they got their hands on NVIDIA chips when there's a ban over there? Expanding investment tax credits for advanced manufacturing. Introduce or expand refundable investment tax credits for domestic manufacturing in strategic sectors like semiconductors, critical minerals, and green energy. The policy builds on the Chips and Science Act's model, offering 20 to 40% credits for equipment and facility investments through 26. Boost domestic production capacity, reducing reliance on foreign supply chains. China's dominance in semiconductors. Similar policies have driven billions in private investment, as seen with the Chips Act's $80 billion impact. Creates jobs and aligns with NAI's push for reindustrialization. Okay. Reforming the SBIR program, modernize the small business innovation research to better support startups and scaling technologies like advanced materials, robotics, and clean energy. Reforms include increasing award sizes, reducing administrative burdens, and prioritizing dual-use commercial and defense innovations. Key funding mechanism for early-stage tech firms, but its outdated structure limits impact. Reform could unlock innovation critical industries, supporting NAI's goal of fostering startup-driven manufacturing. Create 40 national R&D centers focused on Industry 4.0 technologies to drive smart manufacturing. These centers would foster public-private partnerships similar to China's Made in China 2025 strategy, but tailored to US trends. Positions the US to lead in the fourth industrial revolution, a priority for economic and geopolitical dominance. All right, this was good. This was good. I think this was a net new information that we got. Like, okay, reforming federal hiring policy, this is really important. I think one of the reasons is also that if you are an amazing scientist, why would you go and work for the government if you could get paid so much more in private sector with all the stock options, with everything? So by working with government, you're pretty much taking a pay cut, and that's kind of an incentive problem over there. And number two, over here with export controls for AI chip tracking, that is crazy. So this is very interesting. Embed traceability features, enforcing compliance. This is very interesting. Then we got the tax credits. We got the SPR program. Okay, this is more about supporting and award sizes, again, like similar to block grants. R&D centers for Industry 4.0, creating 40 R&D centers. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, very, very interesting policy proposals over here. But yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thank you.